Good evening. My name is Emmanuel Yegon from Nairobi, Kenya, and I'm delighted to welcome you all here for the Global Moment Gallery exhibition with fellow photojournalists from Nigeria, Peru, South Sudan, and Thailand. We are a group of 73 photojournalists from 55 countries, spanning 16 time zones. We were individually selected by the US Embassy in each of our respective home countries. We are participants in a special initiative called a Global Moment in Time, part of the US Department of State International Visitor Leadership Program, or IVLP. The IVLP is now in its 82nd year, and our group of photojournalists is just one of the three global Moment in Time projects. Now, the Global Moment in Time is the first ever IVLP with programming spanning a year. We had a virtual component in the fall of 2021, and plan to have an in-person program next fall. In between is the Bridge program, allowing us to continue to grow and deepen our relationships with one another and a wider audience. Now, these Global Moment Gallery exhibitions are part of that opportunity for us to connect with each other and with all of you through our work. We welcome you. Here. And now for some housekeeping, from the bridge builders, Brittany and Bonnie.
Thank you so much, Emmanuel. In addition to being our moderator for today's Global Moment Gallery, our dear visitor and participant, Emmanuel Yegon, is also a trained communicator and passionate storyteller with a special focus on smartphone storytelling. He is also the co-founder and communications director at Mobile Journalism Africa in Nairobi, Kenya. We are so glad to have him on the team with us today and for several of our Global Moment galleries. My name is Brittany Link, and along with my colleague Bonnie Beard, we have the pleasure of being the bridge builders over the course of this year for this impressive group of photojournalists. As we know, journalists and photojournalists have always been on the front line, often in harm's way to tell the story, to capture that image, even more so during this COVID era. As you see some of their images and hear their stories, you'll see that very clearly. We honor your work and sacrifice. As we start today, we also acknowledge the one-year anniversary of the insurrection attempt on the US Capitol, our beacon of democracy here in the US. As we hold a moment of silence now, I welcome us to reflect on a quote from Amanda Gorman's poem, "The Hill We Climb," recited at the inauguration of President Joe Biden. She reminded us, "There is always light, if only we're brave enough to see it, if we're only brave enough to be it." A moment, please. Thank you, everyone. Over to you, Bonnie.
Thank you, Brittany. We are so grateful to see so many people here. The numbers keep climbing. It's very exciting. We see our photojournalists, their friends and supporters, people they met on their virtual programs. We're seeing community-based members, National Program Agency programmers, the State Department folks from the Office of International Visitors, even some folks supporting our photojournalists from our US embassies abroad. We're so grateful you're all here. I would like to share a few housekeeping tips as we move along. And as I do it, I know many of you have already started putting in chat where you're from, what state, what city, what country. So continue to do that. We ask that you rename yourself with your country and state and your preferred name so that we can better see who you are. And please keep muted during the program until called on. The presentation is being recorded, so if anyone is uncomfortable with being on camera, please keep your camera off. The transcript we are not using. I don't think we have that up and going. Yeah, no, we're not using the transcript. So the Q&A, we are planning on using the raised hand function. The presenters are each going to have 7 minutes, and we will cut in at about 5 minutes and in about 1 minute so that they each have a sense of where they are. And that will be followed by 5 minutes of Q&A from the audience. We know that's a very short time, and we know that we're only going to get to 2 or 3 questions. But at the end, after all the presentations, we will have additional Q&A. We will ask the Global Moment in Time participants to please stay at the end of the program, because we will have some announcements for you that you will want to hear. So after everyone else is gone, we will ask you to stay with us. And I think that's all I had. Emmanuel, back to you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Bonnie. I think we'll start. We have photojournalists who today are going to be sharing their work, and we are going to start with Ibrahim Mansur. Ibrahim Mansur is from Lagos, Nigeria. Ibrahim's favorite quote is, "It always seems impossible until it is done," a quote by Nelson Mandela. Now, Mansur is an internationally featured photojournalist and videographer at The Cable, Nigeria's independent online newspaper, where he is the social media manager and lead photojournalist. Ibrahim currently travels the length and breadth of the country to document the Nigerian story. At the height of the COVID-19 pandemic in 2020, Ibrahim was one of the few photojournalists who bravely monitored and captured activities at sample collection centers and other vital places where millions were locked down in their homes. During this same time, he was also among the first few photojournalists to report live pictures from Northwest Nigeria after the abduction of over 300 boys and 100 girls. His work has been published by Seattle Times, the Irish Times, Yahoo News, Radio France International, Mint in India, The Voice of America, Los Angeles Times, and the Associated Press. Now, ladies and gentlemen, allow me to introduce Ibrahim. Please take it away.
Thanks, Emmanuel. Good to see you again. Hello, everyone from Nigeria here, from Lagos, Nigeria. My name is Ibrahim Mansur. Let me try to share my screen. Okay. 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 So here goes, the first photo. This was when the COVID, the lockdown started in Nigeria. That was 2021, early 2021. In this photo, you could see an empty street. This is one of the busiest roads in Lagos, Nigeria. It leads to the local and international airport. I mean, on a regular day, if not for the lockdown, you'll see going to the airport. At some point, you get to see some people come down from their car and take their motorcycle so they won't miss their flight. So it was really captivating, capturing this photo, seeing an empty street during the lockdown. Next one is the classroom. Social distancing being practiced. The students were writing their secondary school exams, and you could see there's a little bit of distance between them, all thanks to COVID. Yeah. And this one, this one is really one of my best during the lockdown. The groom is a friend of mine. He was getting married. In fact, the wedding was actually postponed twice during the lockdown because family members couldn't attend because of the lockdown. But eventually, the wedding the wedding had to go on because the bride got an admission in Harvard and she needed to travel. So the wedding had to go ahead. You could see both of them smiling. They couldn't kiss, but eventually they kissed later. But you could see the effect of COVID-19 with them using face shield. And this one is a burning gas station. Still during the lockdown, when everyone were all in their home, they couldn't go out. There was restriction of movement across Nigeria. And on this particular day, the fire started, and it was like an opportunity for people to just come out in mammoth crowd to come witness, the gas station burning. The security guys couldn't control the crowd. They just had to let them, witness what was going on. And this is the new norm. Yeah, the face mask. A boy selling a face mask in the street of Lagos. If you could see behind the boy, that's the signature. That's what we call the signature of Lagos. You could see there's a yellow bus behind the bus. I tried to capture it because, it tells me, looking at the picture, it tells you this picture is from Lagos and from Nigeria. Okay, and this particular one, this was when the airport was reopened, and we have 2 health workers putting on their PPE and assisting a passenger who is trying to board an airline. Yeah, this funny one, I call him the cone protester. Yeah, during the lockdown period, during the pandemic, the NSAS protests that took over across, that held across the country. This guy, I have tons of photos from one caught my attention. I'm like, okay, what was he thinking that he decided to put the cone in his head? And I said, okay, this is really a perfect picture to document. And that's why I selected it to show it to the world. Yeah, the freedom call. Yeah, this was this picture is actually emotional because she was among the schoolgirls that were kidnapped in Jengebe, Zamfara, Nigeria. They spent over close to 2 weeks with the kidnappers, and with back and forth negotiation with the state government. They finally got released, and on the day they got released, a family member who made it to the government house, who knew the little girl, put a call through to the parents. Just the voice, if you could see from her face, you could see that she was excited to speak to her parents after being in a kidnapper's den for a few days. And this was when the COVID vaccine came into the country, and everybody got their jab. The facial expression just make me select the picture among some of my collections. And okay, this last one. This is from a protest that held in Lagos, where the protesters are seeking to break away from Nigeria. The state police actually stopped the protesters from not protesting, but eventually they got into the street of Lagos and protested, and the security officials got some of them arrested. I would love to show you more, but I don't know if Emmanuel, how am I doing?
You are doing well, Ibrahim. You just
you are at time.
Yeah, within the time that we had. Yeah.
Oh, okay. So am I good to go, or how many minutes do I have left?
I think it's time for questions now.
Oh, okay. Okay. I have a couple of more here that I would like to show, but okay, you can go ahead with the question and answer session.
Yes, Ibrahim, I think what Brittany has done is she's put links to more of your work on the website. I think thank you so much for sharing your work. Those are incredible pictures of storytelling during the pandemic. I have one question for you, and then we will move on to Marta from Paraguay. And the question is that there are some of the photos that you've shared are from different scenarios, and you have been in scenarios where there are a lot of moving parts. So there is COVID-19 on one end, there is the EndSARS protest, and then you have also the abduction of the 200 girls and 200 boys or 100 girls or something like that. So how do you ensure that you are safe in such a scenario, even while you go out to tell stories, Ibrahim? Because safety is important for you as a storyteller.
Yeah, okay. For the pandemic, for the photos during the pandemic, it was literally, being by obeying the COVID protocol, which is putting on your face mask, using hand sanitizers, practicing the act of social distancing and all that. And at the same time, again, when you get back home, you sanitize all your equipment because, as a family man, you need to be careful not to, bring any harm to your family at the same time. Then for the protest, it's just, staying safe when you're capturing such a protest. When okay, at this time you could be there for an hour capturing moments, but in the next hour you're seeing that okay, this place is not more safe. It's high time, you move ahead. That's practically it.
All right. Thank you for that response. Marta, do you want to unmute?
And hello, everyone. And my question is the same with the how do you self-protect during the covering the protest, like gadgets or gases, and also anti-COVID-19 measures?
Yeah, same response, but a little bit deeper for the NSAS protest. The company I work for is very, very keen in terms of protection, where you use your headgear and your bulletproof vest in case there's a shootout or the security guard. But funny enough, during the NSAS, the major NSAS protest held during the pandemic, where the security guys didn't interrupt the protest at all. It was at the peak of the protest that the security guys, especially at the Lekki toll gate, that was when it became dangerous for journalists to cover the protest. So most of the pictures I took were when the protest was actually still safe.
Any other question? Kindly, like Brittany has said, if you have any question, feel free to use the raise hand function. It'll be easier that way. But thank you so much, Ibrahim. I think we will create some more time at the end of, after every presenter has made their presentation, so that we can engage a little bit more. So if you have a question, just keep it until we have the next presenter. Now, I want us to cross over from Lagos in Nigeria to Lima in Peru, where we have Ernesto Benavides. Ernesto is a documentary photographer from Lima, Peru, working primarily within South America. As a press photographer for the international news agency Agence France Presse, his work has been published in media such as Wired, Audubon, Le Monde, El País, and the New York Times. Some of his award-winning projects are Presidential Vacancy, documenting political unrest in Peru, Dredges, offering a disturbing glimpse at illegal gold mining in the Amazon region, the Energetica, looking at the intersection of art and sustainable energy, and his award-winning book, Wanu, documents the toiling labor of guano extraction, a powerful organic product that comprises excrement from 3 types of seabirds and requires a great deal of work. Ernesto is a founding member of the photographic collective Supei Photos, exhibiting nationally and internationally since 2007. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Ernesto Benavides.
Hello, everybody. Good morning from Peru, and thank you, Emmanuel, for your presentation. Well, thank you, all of you, for being here and share some of my work during the pandemic. And what I'm gonna do is, I was gonna begin with another work, but since I have the control of the screen, I'm gonna begin with this project that for me was the first project that I really got really deep into it, no? And it was for many reasons, personally, and also for the country, no? Like Peru was suffering a lot during the first and second wave, and now the third one is just arriving, no? Since yesterday, it was announced that we are having the third wave. But for me, like at the beginning, I was inside my house, not wanting to go out. And then when after a month that I just begin to work a lot and more in a steady time with the agency, instead of just not wanting to get out of my house, I began to go inside people's houses. And this project is called Doctor Brigades, and it's a project that for me was a way to show the world how complicated the country is and how complicated the health system was. And it put, during this pandemic, it was in evidence that the health system was gonna collapse, and then it did. No, so the country, as one of the measures to stop the collapsing of the health system, they began these doctor brigades, and these doctor brigades were created to go to people's houses to try to prevent people that was already infected with COVID to go to hospitals, because there was no place, there was no oxygen, no medicines. At the beginning, it was chaos. No, so this initiative from the government was really, it was an experience for me that I have never experienced before. No, it put fear, and it put a different level of taking care of myself also for the first time, and then go to people's houses and see the suffering and see the fighting of the people that was infected already, and see these doctor brigades just going to people's houses to, as I said, prevent them to go to hospitals because there was no place. So this measure really worked a lot for the country, for the government. All of these pictures are in Lima, but they were doing it around the country. And it worked because people was able to receive them at their houses. And a lot of people, in a more emotional way, they didn't want to go to hospitals because everybody, as we know probably, we knew that once we go to a hospital, there might be a chance that we are not going out, and there might be a chance for our families to not see us again or to see them again. So a lot of people, instead of, like, for one reason, not being able to go to hospitals because of the collapsing of the systems, other people just didn't want it because they didn't want to leave their families, and their families didn't want to leave them. No, like, this image for me was so emotional time for myself, no, because we all face COVID in different ways. We all worked in different ways in how we approach to people in different situations, no. But this day, I remember I went inside this house. This house was, they were Venezuelans, migrants in Lima, 14 people, all of them with COVID. The grandfather just died one day before, and this guy, a mariachi Venezuelan migrant in Lima, was in COVID in his bed with an oxygen tank, and everybody else was with COVID already. And that was, for me, one of the first time I went inside a house, like, fully protected, no? Like, I was learning how to work with that type of measures, no? So, like, this emotionally for me was like, I kind of cracked at that moment, no? Because it was too much. Like, we are used to have complicated situations, but we are in and out in 1 day, 2 days, 1 week maybe, but this has been more than 2 years already, no? And this project, the Doctor Brigades, continue during the night because of how problematic COVID was. They couldn't stop working, no? Like, people was dying everywhere. That I'm talking about the first and the second wave, no? The lack of oxygen was a real problem. And Lima is so big, we have a little bit more than 10 million inside the capital only. And with a collapsed health system, imagine it was, there were measures to do, no? So doctors began to work at night, testing, controlling people that already had COVID, but they were going out, and people that were like this house that I just showed, this guy. No, when I went into this house, the mood, like the darkness of the night, also helped to, in a more egoistic way, talking about my project, no, like to show how people was living this situation at that time of the during the day, no. Yeah, so this is, Emmanuel, I have a little bit more time.
Yes, just 2
2 minutes.
more minutes.
2
Okay,
minutes.
then, like, I just talk about one of my first projects during the pandemic. There is to talk about how people was fighting, how the government was fighting, and how we all were fighting to try to make it, no? And this year, on October 22, Peru reached 200,000 deaths, and we became the country with the highest fatality rate, the highest global fatality rate. And I was sent by the agency to the north of Piura, to the north of Peru, in Piura, to do a migrant project over there. But then they asked us to do a project about COVID because of we reached that number. no? And in those days, the country was going to reach the 5 million fatalities because of COVID, no? So we went to Piura with a team, a camera guy and a writer, and we were looking for a way to do this, to try to portray this news, no? And I began to see this. I went inside many houses, no? Like, it's amazing how people just let us in. And I saw in this one, you can see this poster on the back, no? And these people in the north were having this tradition to honor the dead, no? And honor the dead not by hiding the pain, or not by not talking about them, but putting posters inside the houses, no? And for me, when I saw this for the first time, I thought that might be the way to show that we were having this amount of deaths, but in a different way, no? Trying to combine it with a tradition of people that were not celebrating, but more like living it every day, going inside the houses and see the face of the loved one and just saying hi. I remember you, you know, like, and that was so touching for me. And I saw it everywhere in many houses around that area in the north of Peru. And so I just began to follow this idea, no, because we needed to portray this fact during the news, but in our own way, no. And when I saw this, and when I saw the people in the way they were remembering, I think it was just the right way to do it, no. So this project that is kind of the last project that I put some time during this pandemic, no? But yeah, so these are the 2 projects that I wanted to share with you today.
Thank you so much, Ernesto. Highly, highly emotional, really profound and powerful images that you have shared with us there, Ernesto. I have one question that will lead us to the brief Q&A. We have seen that you were with the families that were affected. You were closely monitoring these stories, going where those stories were, where you've talked about the numbers, when the numbers skyrocketed, or the number of fatalities, you were sent there. And these are highly emotional stories. As a storyteller, how are you able then to, how do I put it? Like, how do you manage that? Because these are emotionally laden pictures and stories, really. It's about people, it's about families, it's about fellow human beings. How do you get, I don't know if you get what I'm driving at, that because these are emotionally laden images, and these are stories that you do from, that you've done since the pandemic started. How do you ensure that you keep yourself, as away from getting connected to these stories, or how do you balance that off? So
yeah, thank you for that question, man. Like, it was super complicated. Like, as I was saying before, sometimes we, as photographers or photojournalists or storytellers, we get in contact with people, we get in contact with stories, no? And when we do that, we are letting us away from ourselves, and we are kind of getting involved with other people and with other realities, no? So how we deal with that? When I was a kid beginning to do this, like, I used to believe that the camera is a mask, like people said, no? But then I realized that is not the way that was working for me, at least, no? Like, it was not true. But then I began to involve more with people, and that led me to what I want to tell now. During the pandemic, like I said before, it was too much. No, it was not 1 day, 2 days, 1 week, or 1 month. It's been years since we have this. So I got tired at the beginning. When I was telling about this picture of the guy with the oxygen tank, that house, the pain in that house really got me in a way that I didn't believe I was able to get so compromised with the feelings of other people, no? But then, like during my career in general, I believe that, like, besides what you can do personally out of that, since, I don't know, crying, talking with friends, my family, that is very important. But then canalize these feelings and let these feelings of the story that you are facing into your work is the way that I want to work, like, is the way that I think I can canalize these feelings into my images, into my projects. And I think if you let that happen, your images are going to have a different charge, you know, a different way to portray what you want to say, because you are really feeling it. So I think it's very important that you canalize your feelings into your work, and in that way I think you're going to have a more personal work, and it's going to be better for sure. Hola, are you there?
Emmanuel?
Yeah, I think he went off.
Oh,
We're here.
Did we lose him? Okay. Okay, why don't we, Emmanuel, I'm not quite sure where he went.
I think he's there now.
And I do see a hand raised from Ava. Ava, would you like to come up
Ava?
and ask your question?
Yes. Hi,
Sure.
Eva.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Ernesto, I'm so touched by your photography. I was actually like tearing up looking at some of the photos that you've shared. And I think that you can see from the chat that a lot of people, you're evoking a very emotional response from these photos. I was wondering if you could share a little bit more about the response you've gotten from people in Peru, from your colleagues, from people who've seen your photographs, from society, because I think that sometimes half of the story is the response that you receive from sharing this medium. So if you could share a little bit about that, that would be great. Thank you.
Thank you for your question, Eva. I think like the response I was looking for is the one I got at the end. Besides being published and everything that you can have as working in an agency or in a newspaper, I think the sense of creating some empathy in the people around me, not only but about publications, but also people close to me, you know, like, or friends or social media, is like to be able to create this sense that we are not just ourselves suffering due to this pandemic, but there is a lot of people around us, and that we should stop being so selfish and to create some empathy about the people that have less or to suffer more. I think that happened, you know, like, and for me, I think that was.
Слухай, 75 людей онлайн.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, and I think for me that was the best response, no, the empathy on people knowing that we are just not individuals suffering, but a whole society, no?
Christina, thank you so much. And thank you for that question. They are very emotional images that you've put up, and we were aware of the fact we were sort of thinking maybe if there were no questions here, people just needed time to process that, because it's very powerful, and we thank you. Emmanuel, I am assuming, is still having problems with his connectivity. So let us.
I am back, actually.
Oh, are you there? There you are. Great. We're ready to introduce Atiol. Are you?
Okay, thank you. Thank you so much for stepping in. We are now zooming out back to Africa. We are joining Atiol Malik from Juba, South Sudan. Atiol is the founder and CEO of the Heritage Consortium, and he is also a photographer and filmmaker. Atiol's favorite quote is, "Live your life with dignity and integrity. Never be so proud that you lose simple humility. A good attitude is more important than money and a PhD." That is his personal quote. Now, a little bit more about Atiol. He's a professional photographer and filmmaker. He uses these mediums to tell stories about water diplomacy, environmental and climate issues, human rights concerns, and diversity and justice inclusivity in South Sudan and the entire Africa. In addition to being the CEO of the Heritage Consortium, he works as a freelancer with international media houses, including European Press Photo, Shutterstock News, and Good Vibes magazine. He has also worked with Al Jazeera and National Geographic. Now, Mr. Malik was inspired to become a photographer and filmmaker to share more broadly issues of identity, human rights, human trafficking, and misconceptions about his roots in South Sudan and the African continent. Take it away, Atiol.
Yeah, hello everybody. For us here, good evening. It is my pleasure to meet you all. And at this moment, and let me start to say that I send my condolence to everybody globally who lost his lovely one due to COVID pandemic. I have working in a different project as developed a story from the beginning of Corona, but I have tried to focus on different uh, events that happened during the COVID era in South Sudan, as the situations and the lifestyle and culture is different than any country. Here, I use this portrait from a story of this festival called Shiro Festival, and this happened after a year here in the capital of Juba. And I use this sample of the young lady, as those people, young generations, have been traumatized through what they're passing through the COVID because of the lockdown, the school is closing, and even the play become for them a boring. And this lady, after the lockdowns here, she came proudly to attend the Shulu festivals as she addressed the nationals, their traditional heritage of their Shulu tribe in South Sudan. And there is a story, and this is to talk about some important issue that about the marriage and forming a family and the high price of dowry that should be reduced on Shulu tribe. As now talk about it in many different tribes in South Sudan, but her tribe is the leading tribe that in terms of reducing the dowry to enable the youth to get married. And this time of Shulu festivals during the COVID era. Next. Yeah. Here I'm trying to show the sacrifice of the nurse and public health worker that they put themselves at risk, and the response of some people to come and test in South Sudan and try to show behind the scene and in South Sudan for us even people sometimes they need to see some image and try to narrate some story about the struggles and the risk of the nurse and the patient here in inside the PIC diagnostic center. Next. As the same, this is try to show the risk and one of the health worker doing daily work. I follow her and I ask about, they can interview about her work and each of the work. Also, I was thinking about the challenge of recycling in South Sudan and dumping this type of container. And it's not even break some kind of story. Anybody who can read about this is a different sample. Some are maybe safe and some maybe positive and others negative. Next. Yeah, this is a biotechnologist, James. He's a father of 3 kids, and he is working on inside the diagnostic center of IVLP, and share with him, and I follow him even at home, and I try to show some picture of him during his work and before, how their family even they live their life, and their father working is inside the diagnostic center and in the mixer. Next. This is one of the things that is I try to show as first show my picture that I have got my vaccine, and the people here before I doubt about vaccine, and try to show the image of South Sudanese respond to vaccine. And there's 2 vaccines in South Sudan, Johnson & Johnson, that have been donated by US, and there is AstraZeneca vaccine in South Sudan. And we have just the government even before yesterday admit that there's Omicron cases here South Sudan, as well we are talking now, the South Sudan, US embassy in South Sudan is in a lockdown, not functioning. This is now this image, what I shared it, and my image that is make a lot of people ask me a personal question about the impact and the consequence of getting the vaccine, and even encourage people to go and get their vaccine. Next. This is one of the story of some people that I know I just want to share some of a story during the COVID era, the challenge and opportunity, and try to bring hope as people all the global in some moment are scared and they feel sad and feel traumatized. Some are getting pressure due to a lot of consequences. A business collapse, entrepreneurs even face challenges like in their life, and they lose everything. And I follow this is two person they meet in just like a movement in 2016, and everybody is not connected. But Nana, she is a biotechnologist working in on Blue Diagnosis Center, and Kwashi is working in Director General of PIC Diagnosis Center for COVID, and they meet during the COVID time, during the meeting, and there is some relations and love happen, and that even don't stop them, and they get in love in just movement, and they decide to get married. And this is one of the story I was following for long. Next. During the COVID era, the most try to focus on some kind of historical and unforgettable movement that happened in the country, like negotiation during the COVID happened between the Sudanese people and the transitional government in Sudan and the government of South Sudan are mediator. And this is even, there is more than 7 function group of people South Sudan achieved under the President Salva Kiir and mediating achieved the Juba peace agreement Sudan for Sudan. And here there is, you find the last picture of President of Idris Deby in the right hand in Juba. So one of the witnesses and the head of the Sudan Council and the president signed about this, and the rebel behind. And this is when the movement happened. Some of rebel group here, some of movement are in war like 30 years, and some are like 15 years from the four Nuba Mountain, this some function. And that's why I love to share this one and having this deal during the COVID era, and negotiation happened during COVID era in the Republic of South Sudan. Next.
Atiol, I think this is our final one. We only have time for one more. Yes,
this is on try here. This is I will focus on different summit. This summit happened 12 years for from getting a nominee, that people they can follow the story and see about summit talk about different challenge and problems that they face it, and try to manage this summit during the COVID era. And this summit, many members of this tribe, they came from different continents and countries, but during the COVID that are not able to attend this, and they share a lot of concern about the problems that they're facing. Next.
I think that is where we are, and I think we may have. Oh, Emmanuel, are you there?
Thank you, Atiol.
Great.
Thank you, Atiol, for sharing your work, for sharing some of the images that you have taken during the pandemic and the different cultural events also that happened during the pandemic as well. Again, like we said, if you have a question for Atiol, feel free. If you have a question for any of the participants, feel free to use the raise hand function, and Brittany is helping us by putting up the links to more of the images that our presenters are sharing. I'd like us to go to our last presenter, and then we can add up, all the questions once Panu is done. So allow me to introduce Panuma Sanguanwong from Bangkok, Thailand. Panu is a founder and photojournalist at the Thai Newspeaks. His favorite quote is, "What you do is the proof of what you believe," a quote by Simon Sinek. Now, Panuma is a professional photojournalist in Thailand. He's the founder of Thai Newspeaks, a news photo agency. Thai Newspeaks is high quality news photos have made headlines across multiple leading online news agencies in Thailand, such as BBC Thai and Workpoint Today, as well as the international news agencies such as Reuters and AFP. Before establishing his own agency, he worked with Matikon newspaper as a deputy photo editor at Bangkok Post. He has also contributed to AFP as a video journalist. Over to you, Panu, to share your work.
Okay, thank you. Okay, thank you, Brittany. Hello, everybody. I am the last one for tonight, and I just want to start with this picture because this is the picture of the is the healthcare worker transfer the patient suspected of having COVID-19 onto the ambulance in Bangkok, Thailand. And I want to show this picture because for me it showed it showed the humanity. It showed something like it can tell the situation in Thailand because around the COVID-19 pandemic in Thailand, it's not only the healthcare worker, but we have many volunteers that everyone try to help together. But this is it's like a very bad situation in Thailand, and this is a crisis. Before this picture, I found a case of the COVID-19, and that case is not too far from this case, but that case is one man who he died on the footpath beside the main street in Bangkok. And after that, I found that we have know that it have another case. This is this case, but this man he cannot talk anything. But when the healthcare worker come and he try to save his life, and I think this show the situation in the crisis in Bangkok very well. And okay, the next, Brittany, next one, please. And the second picture is the elderly people waiting to swab to test for the COVID-19. I found that at the beginning of the crisis, many people try to test for COVID-19, and it's so bad that for Thailand, the situation is like the COVID-19 will spread in the family, from the member of families, when it's like the elderly people, they will stay at home, but the member of the family have to go out for work or to buy something to eat, something like that. And sometimes they COVID-19 and then they come back to their home, and elderly people will get the COVID-19 too. And in this picture, this the old girl who sit on the street, she waiting for testing, but I know after she finish testing that she are COVID-19, but she have to sit here from the night to I don't sure, but she said that more than 10 hours for testing, because many people want to queue and waiting for the test. Next, please. Okay, this is for the first day for the high school student when they reopen the school. Every student have to test the COVID-19 before they go to school. And this is a new normal for the student in Thailand. I think it will be the same to other students. And I don't sure, but for Thai students, they want to go to school because they don't want to study online studying, because it's not good for them, and it's very long for COVID-19 pandemic in Thailand. It's like every country, because they cannot go to school more than half of years, and it's very bad. Okay, next please. And if you know in Thailand, please go back to previous. Okay, this is the Khao San Road. If you know the Khao San Road, the Khao San Road is like the tourist destination in Thailand, and there are many bars and restaurant and pub, and every night we have many tourists, but for the COVID-19 they have to close, and every night is very quiet. Okay, next please. And this is the problem, like it's like economic problem around the COVID-19 pandemic. This is the taxi, and in the caption say that the vegetable garden are seen on the roof of the taxi rental garage farm, because the car currency out of service due to the downturn in the business as a result of the COVID pandemic. And it's very bad for taxi driver, because they don't have the customer, they don't have the tourists, and they have to go back home. So the rental taxi have to stop here, and the owner said that they want to do like the vegetable garden, because if they plant, they can sell or eat the vegetable, because the car have to stop here and cannot do any business. Okay, next please. And along the COVID-19 pandemic in Thailand, we have the flood. It's a big flood in Thailand. I take this picture from Lopburi. Lopburi is like is in the middle of Thailand. It's not too far from Bangkok, but the flood is make a problem. It's very big problem, because it is a flooding in the COVID-19 pandemic, and it's difficult to help them. But many Thai people try to help them, because it's a for some community or some area is very seriously because the water is very high. They cannot go out to find the food or drinking water or something important for them. And every day we have the volunteer to give them the food and the water. Okay, next please. Okay, this picture shows that it's not around the COVID-19 pandemic in Thailand. We have it's like many countries that we have the protester too, but the protester is like they are anti-government protester. They for this picture they lay down on the road and they flash the three finger salute during the protest against the government. And for the protester that they are demanding to for the prime minister to get out and resignation, not to abolition of 112 less majesty law, and the COVID-19 make them have a problem about the law to it's like I don't sure it's like that the government want to try to make the law to lock down and not permit them to protest.
Thank you.
Okay,
Thank you
next.
so much, Panu. Thank you so much, Panuma, for sharing the incredible work. Again, the link to Panuma's work is in the chat, and you can see that. Brittany has shared that link. Now, one of the things that I think Ernesto shared when he was making his presentation, one of the things he said was that we all experience COVID-19 in different ways. And I couldn't agree more. And you being photojournalists from across the globe, you have been in the front line telling stories in really, really difficult times. And so my question for all of you this evening is, what is it that keeps you going? Where do you find the fuel to keep going, even when you've been, through the toughest and the roughest stretches of, the years from 2020? Now we're in 2022. So where do you get the energy to keep going? Anyone can go among the presenters. You want to start, Atiol?
Yes. Let me say that also as a journalist, now we face a double challenge for us. First, we have the challenge of safety and protections. And at the same time, we have the risk of COVID-19. For me, I face really a challenge, but something that drives me from the beginning is to start making as an entrepreneur to manufacture face mask. I thought what the other things that I do as a journalist before the COVID came, and I start even documenting, and there is even risk that you face a security. But the other challenge, even like the picture I share is in a different state. So there is some picture of Didinga. You have to travel 15 hours to reach and then climb mountain like 4 hours, 3 hours and a half to go to 9 minutes for the story. The other, maybe the time is not enough for me to share the power transformation to next generation. This even happened only in 22 years. And it's happened this time during the COVID era. So the events is to wait for 2 days, non-sleep to cover, probably from village to village. I think there is another things challenge that even the other things drive you. There is maybe others feel that is under the spirit that drive the photojournalists, that sometimes don't think even about money, create your own assignment. You feel some kind of responsibility to do, to share the story. And I'm so happy that it's all the photojournalists that they focus on this story. And different journalists here, they focus in different continents on others' story, like politics only, and some they focus only on the number of how many people affected, how people that positive, negative, and so, but still there is others focus on the reals. I'm so happy that people focus on the life and so and so. As one of the challenge that for other journalists, I think the other people that can add what is the others drive them, and so thank you.
Thank you for that, Atiol. What keeps you going, Ernesto?
Well, as a photographer, I think I can say that I am lucky to have found my passion. I did it when I was 24, and it makes me really happy to get into people's lives, to build stories, to create some sense of, to show people what they cannot see, no? Like in an egoistic way, I love that. But as a photojournalist, I think we have a responsibility, and that keeps me going a lot. Now, more than before, I think that responsibility is more important in what we do, no? So I think that's one of the fuels that I have to keep me going.
That's incredible. Panuma?
Yes. For me, I think this is the history, and our duty is like we for photojournalists, we have to tell the true story, and we have to try to go out to capture or do our job. And I think it's very important because especially for the COVID-19 pandemic, it's like everyone don't want to go out, and sometimes we have like the government don't allow the people to go outside, but we found that there are many patterns every day, every night, and every time. And I think the our job, one photo or many photo can tell the truth that how big or how bad of the situation and how to help together. So it's like this is like the I don't sure, but I think every day I have to go out to find some picture, to go to every community to find something new, or to work with the healthcare worker to help the people in every area that we can go and show it in our picture.
Thank you, Panuma, for that. Finally, Ibrahim, your response to that question before we take other questions.
Yeah, thanks, Emmanuel. I think I'll go with Ernesto in terms of passion. It's the passion for the job, and documenting the activities during the pandemic. The pandemic is still here. It's still very much around. It goes away, but there's that attitude of you have to document this because it's not going to last forever. In the nearest futures, photos need to be shown to the next generation that okay, this pandemic came, and this the photos will show all the activities that happened during the pandemic. So for me, it's the passion, the drive to document what the next generation are going to come up to see. And I would like to share a second frame from one of my portfolio. Okay, so this is it. It was like the pandemic happened. They had the face shield. They didn't kiss, but they had the kiss. So it's a two-frame photo. So I just wanted you guys to just see that they eventually kissed. So the pandemic didn't stop them from kissing. But it was a part of the protocol of the wedding. It was, I think, about 30-something people attended the wedding. We did all the protocols, face masks, social distancing, and all that, sanitize and all that. But a couple, they kissed. So the COVID didn't stop them from kissing in public. So that's it. Thanks, Emmanuel.
Thank you, thank you. That is also a nice, really nice picture. I think one, you guys have responded to that question really nicely, and I like the fact that there's the drive and some sort of sense of responsibility and passion to tell these stories. Somebody's interested in knowing if you have female colleagues who are also working, or yes, who are working, or you are working together as photographers in your respective countries.
Sorry, come again.
Okay, so a question has come through. Somebody's asking, do you have female colleagues, photographers, photojournalists whom you work together?
Of course. Yeah, okay. For me personally, my video director is a female, a very cheerful, colleague. In fact, she's here. She's here watching, and she's been making some comments. And I've worked with no colleagues, female colleagues, but she's just exceptional. She's this kind of person that wants the best. We've gone on the field together. In fact, one of the kidnappings that happened in the northeast in Nigeria, we were actually the first among the first journalists to arrive at the the scene of the kidnapping and all that. And people were like, "Okay, so you actually work with female colleagues?" I said, "Of course." So in Nigeria here, we have many. They are not in photojournalism, but in the media industry. We have many female, journalists and all that, but few in the video section and photography, photography department.
Here in Lima, also in Peru, there's a lot of girls working as photographers, but in these days, more and more, I can see more girls working as a photojournalist also, no? Even the
I think Ernesto disconnected for a bit there. But even as he, we hope we can be able to reconnect with him in a bit, maybe as we, wrap up, and before I hand this back over to Bonnie, what do you do for fun? What do you do for fun outside of, all the work, shooting for, the different media houses that you shoot for, or the different stories on, the abductions and COVID-19? What is it that you do for fun? How do you spend your, free time?
Okay, I spend more time with my family. Yeah, then fun time is movies. I watch a lot of movies, basically movies, and I read books. But with the traveling and all that, I find it hard to finish some of the books I start. But spend time with family and do movies in my spare time, because it takes watching movie for me. Keeps everything on the side. Just I do movies basically.
Thank you so much, Ibrahim. Panuma.
Yes, for me, along the COVID-19, I'm working every day, and yes, I have time for my family too, but for my own family, they are not in Bangkok. They are in other province, but along COVID pandemic, I cannot go back to meet them because of the COVID-19, and I think it's about 2 years that I cannot go back to meet out my family. So I work every day. Like today, I think not only working, but I try to watch a movie and do anything too.
Okay. Thank you so much, Panu. I hope you will be able to reconnect with them soon enough. Very quickly, Atiol, and then Ernesto. We are at time, so yeah, just Ernesto, for your sake, we asked, what is it you do outside of, taking photos, and just what do you do for fun? Atiol?
Yes, actually, photography is one of my fun. The photography is one of my passion, and from younger age, and it become for me, I tended to become business and so. Other things, reading book, one of my fun. Now it comes to the story, writing story of one of my fun, and I become addicted. The most difficult things is to be a business pioneer and to work in your legacy. And it become for me now some kind of joyful, fun, even work from morning up to. So that's why my lifestyle was become like that. So,
thank you. Thank you so much, Ernesto.
Well, for me, besides my job, I try to. I have a daughter. She's 10 years old, Emma. I try to travel with her a lot. It's amazing to go with her and friends, no? And also sports. Peru have lots of good waves, so I surf a lot around here, and that's really good for my own personal care, no? Sports. This is really good for us in general. And with this job that we do, it's really good to just sweat a little bit more.
Exactly, Ernesto, and that's also how I spend some of my free time. I play volleyball. But thank you guys so much for sharing your incredible work and continue telling those stories. Like you said, that COVID is affecting each and every one of us differently. What we keep doing is keep telling those stories until we are able to all meet again in fall of 2022. Until then, thank you so much. And back to you, Bonnie.
Thank you, Emmanuel. This has been an extraordinary, the presentations, the power of these images is just breathtaking. If you could just take a brief moment and a brief breath and write in the chat how you're feeling at this moment as a result of this. Just take a brief moment. And Britt, I hand it off to you.
Sounds great. Thank you everyone for these beautiful thoughts. They are just so fun to be reading here in the chat. So keep those coming while we're doing the next part. I just want to say thank you to our presenters. Thank you to Emmanuel. What a fabulous job moderating this. We can see our leadership in action with our international visitor leaders here. Wonderful. Thank you, everyone. We look forward to seeing you at more of these events in the future. We will be doing them the first Thursday of every month, with the caveat that a few will be private. So for the ones that are public, I will continue to send out invitations via the website and email. So glad you're here, and so glad you could experience and see firsthand the worlds that these photojournalists have been living in the past.